Good afternoon. It's 3 p.m. and I'll call to order the Board of Directors regular meeting study session for Thursday, December 11th, 2025. May I have a roll call, please?
Director Meyerhoffen,
Here.
Director Duff,
Present.
Director Martin,
Present.
Vice President Griffith,
Present.
and President Sewell.
Here.
Thank you. We have quorum.
Thank you. Seeing that all 5 directors are present, we'll skip item 3. Also skip item 4 we'll do on Monday. Item 5, rules of procedure. Counselor?
Yes, according to the rules of procedure adopted by the board, all notice meetings are conducted using Rosenberg's Rules of Order as a procedural guideline. Directors should refrain from responding directly to public comments at meetings of the board. The president of the board presides at all meetings and decides all points of order and procedure during meetings. The president is responsible for the maintenance of order and decorum at all board meetings. No person should be allowed to speak who has not first been recognized by the president. All questions and remarks should be addressed to the president as the presiding officer. No member of the board should speak more than once upon any one subject until every other member of the board wishing to speak on the subject shall have been given an opportunity to speak. And no board member shall interfere with the orderly progress of a board meeting.
Thank you. Item 6, public input. This is opportunity for members of the public to address the board on matters within the board's jurisdiction. Please limit comments to 3 minutes or less. State law prohibits the board from discussing or taking action on any items not listed on the agenda. Do we have any members of the public wishing to address the board today?
President Sewell, not online.
Okay, and I see none here in person, so we'll move on. Our item 7 presentation will be Monday, as well as item 8, our human resources report. So we're on to our action items. Item 9, Monday will be the public hearing, and that is for ordinance 2025-03, amending sewer service rules and regulations, Article 7, grease sand interceptors, and Article 11, enforcement. General Manager?
Thank you, President Sewell, members of the board. As you mentioned, this public hearing will be held on Monday. On Monday, for the record, we'll present roughly the same presentation we saw in our noticed public hearing, which was back in November. If you have any questions relating the item, knowing that you've seen it's identical to what it was a month ago, we'd be more than willing to answer any questions at this time. But we will be giving a full presentation on Monday.
Okay, great. Any questions, comments from the board? No. All right. Item 10, award of contract to CA Lobby for state advocacy services. General Manager?
Thank you. I'll ask our Assistant General Manager, Marion Champion, to present this item. Marion?
Thank you, General Manager Macy. With us today is Rosanna Carvacho Elliott from California Lobby, who supported MSWD in our state legislative and regulatory advocacy for the past year. During this time, she's helped MSWD monitor legislation, draft position letters, provide monthly reports, which you see in your GM packets, as well as setting up meetings with legislators and relevant associations. Rosanna has extensive experience in California's sometimes challenging political landscape, and she is supported by seasonal lobbyists with solid backgrounds in water and energy. Rosanna also represents MSWD as part of her duties with the California Groundwater Coalition, and she has been a pleasure to work with, and I personally have been very happy to work with her in the past year. I've asked her here today to provide you all with a brief recap of the past year and to provide you with some insight as to how next year is starting to shape up at our state's capital. Rosanna?
Great. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, board members. Can you hear me?
No, we're having a little bit of trouble.
It says, okay. Is that better? Can you all hear me now?
It's still a little bit weak.
Uh-oh. All righty.
Get closer to the mic.
I've got my headphones in, so.
Oh, okay. All right.
I don't know what other mic. Maybe I should try calling in on a phone. Do you think that would be better, or do you want me to just yell? Is this better?
It's getting better.
The volume just went up.
Okay, I'm just going to yell. And I'm going to have to apologize to my colleagues for yelling in the office. Can you all hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, I will start over. Good afternoon, Mission Springs Board of Directors. Pleasure to see you all again. I know some of you came up to Sacramento this year, or I saw you at different venues throughout the year. But as Ms. Champion said, wanted to provide you with just an overview of the work we did in 2025 and what we're expecting as we look to 2026. We are currently halfway through the legislative session here in Sacramento. The legislative sessions are 2-year sessions, so the 2025-26 session is the one we are halfway through. The legislature will return to Sacramento in early January, where they will be focused on the passage of 2-year bills, which are bills that did not pass this year, but are still alive because the session is 2 years. And then for bills that did not, for 2-year bills, excuse me, that did not pass out of the House of Origin, meaning the house that they were introduced in this year, excuse me, feels like it's already last year, they must pass out of the house they were introduced in by January 31st. This is a very quick process compared to normal. This means it has to pass out, the bills have to pass out a policy committee, a fiscal committee, as well as a full floor vote prior to January 31st. This process normally takes between January and May for a bill. So as you can imagine, it's going to be very busy in Sacramento trying to move these bills forward. In addition, in January, I will expect that we'll start to see new bills being introduced. But admittedly, the bulk of the newly introduced bills won't occur until the last 2 weeks before the bill introduction deadline, which is February 20th this year. Looking at Mission Springs specific bills, this year working closely with your team, we tracked close to 70 bills of interest to the district, which included over 50 watch bills. And I have to say, in my opinion, I think we did very well. We had a very successful year. Specifically, the district opposed or had an oppose unless amended position on 6 bills, and none of them made them to the governor's desk. Well, unfortunately, they are technically 2-year bills. They could come back next year, and we will have to be diligent in watching those. And then if they do come to life again, continue to oppose and lobby against them. And then in addition to opposition bills, the district supported 5 bills. 3 of them were passed and signed by the governor, and 2 are 2-year bills, meaning, again, they can be acted on in 2026. And I'll just say that for the bills that Mission Springs had a support, oppose, or support, excuse me, an oppose unless amended position, there were letters submitted to the legislative committees, legislators, the governor, and testimony in committees, as well as direct lobbying on those bills, working with your team. Shifting to some changes that I'm expecting to see in the legislature. We've already seen one change in the Senate with the leadership change. The new Senate President Pro Tem took office on November 17th. And so now we are waiting for the biggest changes, which are going to be the committee changes that she makes as the new leader. And I think we are all on pins and needles to see who's going to chair what committees. And then as part of that, I think one of the other dynamics here in Sacramento is with the passage of Prop 50, which I'm sure you're all familiar with in terms of the redistricting that passed last month. We are expecting there to be an impact here in the legislature. At least one member of the state Senate has announced that they're running for a newly created congressional seat from Prop 50, and there are numerous rumors about others. So that will obviously impact the dynamic in the legislature if folks are running for Congress, as well as there could lead to potential special elections. And then the other dynamic is if you're the pro tem and you're looking to appoint people to committees, you're not going to appoint someone to a plum committee who's running for Congress, right? So those are some other dynamics that are in play. And I think all of us here in Sacramento are hopeful that the pro tem will make these announcements prior to the holidays so we can all enjoy our holidays. But they don't always do things based on what we would like. Now, quickly just shifting to the budget, we are expecting the governor to introduce his final budget to the legislature. He has to do so before January 10th. So that will be the first full week of January when the legislature is back. As I'm sure you're aware, we are continuing to expect the state to have a budget deficit. The only question is how big it will be. So just last month, the Legislative Analyst's Office, which I'm sure as you know is is a nonpartisan group, announced that their projection for the deficit is going to be $18 billion for the 2026-2027 fiscal year. And we will see what the governor's Department of Finance will project. We'll see that in his budget. They do their own revenue estimates and have their own projections. And I will say, admittedly, or historically, I should say, the governor's budget folks find a little bit rosier deficit numbers than the legislative analyst's office. And that's always the one that the legislature wants to go with, whichever one looks better. And so and specific to water issues, things of importance to Mission Springs, I think because of the deficit, we will unfortunately probably have to be fighting some additional cuts next year, as well as what we saw earlier this year of shifting commitments that were made in the general fund, shifting it to Prop 4, the climate and water bond. So that's, I think, just the reality of having a deficit and admittedly another funding source to try to move things over to. So that, I think, will continue to be a fight in the legislature in 2026. And then lastly, on the budget, I'll just say, and I know I've mentioned this in some of my monthly reports as well, but, the cuts that were made by Congress to some of the social safety net programs earlier this year are really going to be felt in the next fiscal year, 2026, 2027, because that's when a lot of the cuts go into effect. So that's going to mean some tough choices, admittedly, for the legislature. I know that isn't necessarily within, the purview of the district, but just big picture, the political dynamics, there are going to be some tough decisions to be made here in Sacramento. And then lastly, I'll just say on the gubernatorial race, there's still no clear front runner in the race for governor. There are currently 10 people running, which includes 8 Democrats and 2 Republicans. Given that there is no clear front runner, once we saw our U.S. Senator Alex Padilla announce that he would not run at the beginning of November, we saw 2 additional Democrats jump in, billionaire Tom Steyer, as well as Congressman Eric Swalwell. And also because there's no front runner, we're hearing the rumors are getting louder and louder about Attorney General Rob Bonta reconsidering, I should say, a run for governor. He did announce earlier this year, I believe it was January or February, that he was not going to run for governor and he was going to run for re-election as Attorney General. But because there is no front runner, he is reconsidering it. I think he's viewing it as his best shot to, potentially be governor. And I will say that the shadow campaign for the Attorney General has already started, just in case Mr. Bonta does jump into the gubernatorial race. There's always folks looking to backfill. So just in closing, I'll say, there's never a dull moment in Sacramento. I think 2026 is going to be a very interesting year between congressional races, the gubernatorial races, and then the continuing dynamic shift between the legislature and the governor. As the governor is a lame duck in his last year and therefore a lame duck. We had already started to see a shifting over the last year and a half, 2 years, where the legislature was finally willing to push back on the governor. So I expect that to continue and to actually even get stronger as they feel more empowered as the governor is on his way out the door. So with that, really appreciate you all taking the time today, and I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any, and if that's allowed.
Right. Thank you, Rosanna. Any questions or comments?
No.
Director Mayo?
I don't mean to sound disrespectful, but everything you just told me, I can get off the news. In fact, it kind of sounded like a news reporter to me. So maybe you can explain what we're actually paying for here at, what do you want, $60,000? What are we actually paying your company for?
Sure,
Is what
happy
I'd like
to.
know.
Yeah, of course. The contract is for legislative advocacy services. This report is just, a high level of the work we did this last year. That's why I gave an overview of the number of bills, the positions, some of the outcomes. But yeah, I agree with you. A lot of this is very high level as we kind of do a wrap up of 2025 and look to 2026. In terms of what the legislative services that are being provided is, there are over 2,000 2,000 bills introduced every single year in the legislature. You are paying me to look at all of those bills on behalf of Mission Springs and flag any of them. And then, of course, talk to your staff if there are any concerns. And then from there, we will potentially take positions at direction. And there is, a legislative platform that the board has approved that is used for those positions. And that's where, my work really heats up. That's when I'm lobbying members of the legislature. We're asking for amendments. We're asking people to vote no for bills, support bills throughout the legislative session based on what is introduced. And also in addition to legislation, there's the budget, right? And there is budget proposals, both from the governor as well as other stakeholders that we may like or dislike. And we do the same type of advocacy in terms of lobbying the legislators and their staff in support or opposition of those different proposals. At this point, we don't know exactly what's going to be on the table, but because this is Sacramento, we do know that there is going to be another 2,000 bills and a minimum introduced. And that's where the bulk of the work comes in. In addition to that, I'm in policy committees as well as budget committees on behalf of Mission Springs to express the board's positions on different items. And then when you all are here in Sacramento, we do have meetings with legislators as needed or as requested. So hopefully that answered your question.
What in the year 2025, how exactly did you help Mission Springs Water District?
Well, we helped kill bills that would have been detrimental to the district, specifically some PFAS bills that made it all the way to the assembly floor, past committees, and we're able to stop it on the assembly floor. That is one I think we're going to have to fight again in 2026. There were other bills that were important to the district that we were able to get passed, and I can pull up that list right now. I'm sorry I closed it before.
It's okay. You've done fine. Thank you. I see here where it says an additional, well, I guess I have to wait for after we're done here before I make my comments.
You can make
Do
a
it now.
note.
All right. Because we don't want any back and forth, do we?
This is the time, I think.
Time? Yeah, that's right. This is a study session, isn't it? Okay. Here we go. I see here you wanted an automatic, the contract may be renewed for up to 2 additional years. My thought on this is it comes back next year for the board to look at to see what's really going on, as opposed to just dragging on with a contract where we don't know what's going on. So that's my final comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I can just add to some of the comments that were made by the presenter. Years ago, when the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act was presented to the state legislature, I don't think we had a lobbyist in Sacramento. And that was unfortunate because Desert Water Agency did. And so the result of that was they ended up being identified specifically as the GSA over our area. And then we ended up in litigation for years over that. Had we had a lobbyist up there as our eyes and our ears and our voice, that probably never would have happened. Or at least you would have had an opportunity to be involved in the discussion at the legislative level had you had a lobbyist. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you. That clarifies everything. The legal counsel here has been working with me for 3 years, so I guess they knew exactly what I was asking. Thank you for trying.
I'll circle back to you.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. General Manager Macy, maybe you want to weigh in. Ted brought up some very interesting points. I'd like to get your perspective on it.
I'm sorry, what points are you making reference to?
About the what services they have provided that have given us resulted in benefits to the Mission Springs Water District, and that's basically.
Well, as she mentioned, when there's legislation being proposed,
Right.
There are opportunities for us to amend that and either oppose it or or, wait and see or amend as proposed. And then we give them ability to, we actually get an opportunity through Rosanna to actually amend the legislation or at least suggest changes to the legislation to the folks that are actually writing the laws. So from that perspective, much like JP just mentioned, when the Groundwater Sustainability Act was being drafted, we were sort of on the tail end of that. In this particular case, in the legislation that's coming up going through Sacramento, Rosanna gives us the heads up of what it is, what's it applicable to, and then how would it best serve us, and is there any language we could tweak to make it serve us better? And that's the service that she provides.
You answered my question very well. Thank you.
Okay.
Director Duff, questions, comments?
I wanted to thank you. I'm glad to have someone with our back up in Sacramento who is fighting for us when we can't be there to fight. I also appreciate you bringing to our attention, especially some of those that we opposed without correction, I guess I could say. Some of those legislations would have cost our district thousands and thousands of dollars, costing our ratepayers hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so having that tool, not to call you a tool or your services one, but to have you in our toolbox, I feel is very valuable so that we don't get left in the wind or on the curb. We are part of the conversation. And that's really the first time that we've been a very thorough part of the state's conversation as a smaller district under a GSA. We're not letting them speak for us anymore. We're speaking for ourselves because our needs are very different from our wholesaler. So I just wanted to thank you for your hard work. And I look forward to what's going to be a very challenging year, and look forward to all the fighting that you're going to have to do for us up there again. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice President?
I just want to expand on some stuff. First of all, thank you for all your hard work. Anyone who went to the Region 9 meeting at Aqua may have noticed that the Region 9 board kind of kept silent and were a little shocked when Stacy Doolittle stood up and said, I wish that Aqua would look out for the little districts more than they do. They seem to worry about the larger districts. And that is a fact. We are kind of on our own. We don't have the backing that the larger ones do. Aqua takes positions that benefit, I believe, issues that are more important to larger organizations and small organizations. Having someone like Rosanna up there is our only opportunity to have a spot at the table, because the organizations that we are part of don't always speak on our behalf, because we're small and we don't benefit them as much. And that's probably not a popular opinion, but that's fact. So I want to thank you for fighting for us. If you ever get the chance to go up there and meet with Rosanna and see how she interacts with the people at the Capitol, you will understand the value that she brings. And I believe we bring this forward every year, for both this and also for Laura, for DC. And so this gives us an opportunity to actually have a fighting chance and actually have people listen to our perspective, because the smaller agencies tend to get pushed by the wayside, and then we're at the mercy of whatever passes. So thank you for all your hard work. And I look forward to seeing you in February, because it is Aqua State Ledge. So
Thank you. I feel like I'm going to beat a dead horse here, but I really appreciate your reports, especially the monthly reports, but more than the reports, it's kind of a two-way street where she's able to advocate on behalf of us. So it's not just relaying information to us, it's helping our wants and needs get to our legislators. So thank you for all your work you're doing. Just to clarify though, the verbiage about extending an additional 2 years, that would be an annual vote. We're not approving a 3-year contract on Monday.
We can do either. You can choose to just approve 1 year, or we've added into our procurement policy the ability to do up to 3 years.
Okay.
So it's up to the board's purview to decide if they'd like to make that a staff decision or not.
Right. And just years past, it's always been 1 year, or have we done it?
Technically, the price on this at this price point, it does not need to come to the board for approval. It's within the general manager's authority. But because this is such an important contract, and because I want to make sure that you get to speak directly to Rosanna and Laura, that's why we bring this to the board annually.
Okay.
So it's not about the contract. It's more so that you have a chance to interact with our lobbyists directly.
Great, thank you. Anything further from the board?
No.
Thank you, Rosanna.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 11, and that's approve change order number 1 with Southwest Pump and Drilling Incorporated for the on-call well and booster maintenance and repair services contract and contract amendment number 1 for Kyle Groundwater Incorporated. General Manager?
Thank you, President Sewell, members of the board. I'll ask our Director of Operations, Danny Friend, to provide a summary of this contract. Danny?
Sorry about that. Thank you, General Manager Macy. Good afternoon, President Sewell, members of the board. I'd like to start off. I realized when I put this together quickly for the agenda, I didn't include the scope of work, the full scope of work for the rehab. So I apologize for that. So what we were doing is a little history. If you recall, well 28 in past conversations and well 30, and they're kind of both in the same boat, but I'll focus on well 28 since that's what's in front of us today. Well 28 and 30 had been pulled, taken offline, partially from mechanical failures, also with rising uranium levels. We had a uranium filtration at well 28 that at the time that about the time that the mechanical failure happened, we were being informed that the life cycle of that facility was starting to need replacement. We were looking at about, at that time, probably 550, 600 unknown repairs, and then a replacement at about 345,000 just for the portion to lease it. So after the mechanical failure, we took it offline in order to save time from having to report on it. We inactivated the permit. So well 30 was inactivated years prior to that. Well 28 followed. The good part about that is like well 34 just is down the road. Uranium levels for 34 declined to the point where we were able to remove uranium filtration. And towards the tail end of our trending, we also saw a uranium level trend down. So brings us back to, and again, the location, most of us know where it is, well 28, south side of Mission Lakes Boulevard, and 1,850 feet east of North Indian Canyon. There's one on the corner. That is well 30, but we're talking about well 28, which is on the south side. So the reason I wanted to provide just the history of where we are. So we budgeted last year to do the rehab for both these wells. We had been working together as a team with engineering. We had planned to take this and put this out to bid in January, and with a proposed project schedule, hopefully completing by July of 26. So with the issues that we've got going on in the system, we had to take another 1,400 zone well offline suddenly. We've got planned work coming up here in the 5th of January. We're going to start the well 22 project, which is a rehabilitation. It's been a long awaited project. Supply chain issues waiting for the motor control center and things. So we're finally at a point where we can start. Well 42, we're optimistic that we're going to see that well be completed in the second quarter of 26. But all those take us into well past the April where we start seeing the increase in our water demand because of the temperature. So whether we're cranking on ACs or not, people are still using their water for their lawns and their outside. So essentially what really drove this is taking a 1,400 zone well off. Part of these wells that we still have off as a strategy for Chrome 6 are still off. So frankly, we don't have a lot of wiggle room. While we could make it work, I just need one hiccup. This morning I had a hiccup in a different area, but that could happen in this area. So if that were to happen, we will be scrambling. I guarantee you we won't run out of water because the team here is not going to let it happen. But I can tell you that there could lead to big concerns. With that, let me dive into the scope a little bit more. So as I said, we worked with Kyle Groundwater. They came in to do our what we call a rehabilitation work plan. We have been working with them. They prepared the work plan for 22, 33, 34. They're also under a contract, as you may have seen us bring back to you, to amend and extend, which is a well rehabilitation prioritization. It's been a long going process, but what we've been doing is putting out fires unfortunately unable to be proactive and look at a long-term plan. We've been having to take care of things that have failed prior to being able to prioritize them. So bringing them in, they put together a work plan. The timing was just right. We took that work plan. It is a heavy chemical rehab. They'll go down, they'll also, in the process, do a development pumping, determine if there's additional capacity available. In this particular case, we're looking to bring this well back to its original state, about 1,950 gallons per minute. The difference in the scope, besides what Cal Groundwater provided, is when we pulled the equipment, we evaluated the equipment. They said everything downhole was essentially in a shape that wasn't even worth saving. So we salvaged the equipment. So what we have left is a motor and what we refer to as a discharge head. It's just the fancy name for how the downhole connects to the above ground and makes it all work. So the scope includes rebuilding the motor, which is, it's a 600 horsepower motor, which is, and let me actually provide some context. We bid out well 34. And essentially this project was the same rehab, the same mechanical rehab, downhole equipment. And this project by numbers is about 150,000 more from a bid project. But the Well 34 project didn't include electrical panel rehabilitation. So over the years, we borrowed parts, and I referred to it in some meetings as we cannibalized the panel. We borrowed them to take care of other panels, like panels, so that we can keep those other projects working. In this case, there's 60,000 of that extra 150 that goes towards something that was never part of Well 34. Additionally, there is a 600 horsepower, the size of a 250 horsepower equipment and pump that goes downhole compared to 600. It's a major difference. One of the reasons why we don't like to build that size anymore today. When Well 42 was being designed, it was designed with a 600 horsepower. We stepped in, we worked through it. We didn't want one that big. Long lead times, additional costs. So in reality, comparing this project to a project that we actually bid out, we're not that far off. We're possibly 10% higher, which is not a bad thing. And that 10% higher is expected just because of the size of the horsepower of that pump and that facility. So with that, one of the reasons, like I said, is we wanted to make this as an expedited project, an emergency project in a sense. If we don't, there's a prolonged, having, the 1400 zone with a prolonged outage, it could lead to some risk for the district. So that is one of the reasons why we wanted to, I guess, leverage our on-call contract and expedite the process. There are recognized time savings, and in this case, that's the important part for us. And I think they outweigh even what I can defend as a low bid from our on-call contractor. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Danny.
Thank you.
Director Duff?
Thank you very much. I can tell that you know me well now because you answered the questions that I was going to ask as if you knew that that was going to be a problem for me. Just in case there was some confusion at the other end of the dais, I always have been complaining about adding on and multiple change orders to on-call contracts. I prefer doing RFP bids and having that kind of transparency. However, I also am a huge proponent of being proactive. And I am so tired of us being behind the 8 ball and we can't do anything ahead of time. We're always having to fix things. So I'm excited that we're looking at this in a somewhat emergency nature in our plan B or C, whichever it is from what could possibly happen. And our water quality and our water accessibility is our number one reason and purpose for being here. It's the reason of our entire mission here. So for me, with the clarity that you were able to provide before I even asked the questions, I no longer have those questions and concerns because the emergency nature of having this backup resiliency is the whole reason we do what we do. So thank you for being proactive. Thank you for finding a way to make what needs to happen and get this to us in such a timely manner.
You're welcome. So before we have additional questions, possibly, I have a part here on page 2 that I didn't cover. There's likely some confusion in the financial table, and the financial table says that there is a future amendment to or augmentation to the budget. And I should have probably checked some of the boxes differently, but just to clarify, it's clear that the amount of money that I'm asking, well, it's not clear, likely. It's the amount that we are asking, staff asking to have approved exceeds the budget. But currently, right now, staff is working with Skylar and his team on the 15th mid-year budgets due. So rather than muddy this up and then come back in January for mid-year, we're not going to burn through any half of it, not even a tenth of the cost before we reach the January board meeting. So I'll be bringing this back to the board. I can tell you right now, just to cover just staff time, one of the things I'm going to be doing is also activating the permit. So I'll be working with the state to do that. So I've got staff time that I'll be adding. I'm looking at roughly $80,000 to cover the cost difference in the actual rehab part. The actual other items that weren't discovered until here recently was we've got some like critical components that go on the well header, the horizontal piping above ground that we don't have, that we need to replace. And some of those have a larger cost of like $25,000. So we'll be bringing likely anywhere from $120,000 to $150,000 amendment request. So I just want to be transparent now. And I had that in my notes in case that comes up as one of the questions. And as far as the board's been clear on what they want, so it's been understood. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice President?
I looked at the number and I said, ouch.
Say it fast. It still hurts, but it's
Insurance is expensive. So this is an insurance policy, basically. Yeah.
It's not a perfect system, but it's yeah.
So what is the timeline for completion?
General manager said, "Can you get this done in 6 weeks?" I choked up a little bit, but I said, "I tell you what, I can get it done in possibly 10 to 12 weeks." So we've got a schedule that's going to take us into January. I'm hoping so. I'm asking for forgiveness here. I'm treating this as an emergency. I've got equipment already ordered, and I've got a crew starting. They've already rigged up, and I got a crew bailing.
I saw that yesterday.
Yeah. So I'd rather go ahead and get scolded for that rather than get scolded for running out of water.
No
So
scolding. No scolding. I'm curious.
The reality is we're started. We're looking to get this completed. I'm hoping we're running by the end of February, if sooner than that. So everybody on this team, from engineering, understanding what we needed to do, from working with a contractor, working with Kyle Groundwater, they made something of quick order, and we're all understanding. So we're looking to get something done in the next 2.5 months.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And just let me add, even with that schedule, April 1st is really when we start seeing the change in going from winter to spring to summer. And then even the bigger push happens in May, June, and July. So by him scheduling and trying to stay, our plan B is actually a condensed schedule, just so we make sure we have 60 days to work out any issues that may happen.
Traditionally, though it does not seem like winter this past week.
I was going to say, yes, if winter starts.
Yeah.
Director Martin? Director Meyerhoff?
Thank you for all your hard work, Danny. And I know that it's very complicated getting all this coordinated, put together, the money, the equipment, and another year from now, we'll probably be back with something else for, well, 28. But
Well, 30, yeah.
yeah, I'm fascinated, but in 6 weeks to get this done. And my comment's really for General Manager Macy next. I've been trying to get proper irrigation over there on well 28 for 3 years, but you can get all this done in 6 weeks.
Actually, last week was the first time I heard of that, and I've spoke with Danny, as you well know, and we are working.
No, I don't well know, and I've been 3 years. Why would I say 3 years if it? Never mind. How would I say 3 years if it is?
Thank you for the very detailed presentation. And I think we'll move on to the next item.
Thank you.
And that is item 12, Resolution 2025-21, Amendment of the Codified Mission Springs Water District Personnel Rules and Regulations, Title III Personnel. General Manager?
Thank you, President Sewell. I'll ask our Human Resources Manager, Oriana Hoffer, to handle this item. Oriana?
Thank you. Good afternoon, President Sewell and members of the board. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes.
Thank you. Today, we bring a change to Title III Personnel Rules and Regulations. I am going to briefly share my screen. Okay. As part of our routine policy review and to ensure compliance with GASB 101, staff evaluated how optional holiday hours are administered. Because the benefit is currently based on the calendar year, it creates uncertainty about whether unused hours at our fiscal year end must be reported as a compensated absence liability. To align with GASB 101 and to ensure accurate financial reporting, we recommend shifting optional holiday hours from a calendar year benefit to a fiscal year benefit. And to smoothly transition, staff proposes employees receive 2 optional holidays on January 1st of 2026, which would expire on June 30th, 2026. Thereafter, beginning July 1st of 2026, the benefit will reset annually each fiscal year at 36 hours. Exhibit A is on your screen right now and includes the proposed updates to the personnel rules. With that, I am happy to answer any questions.
All right. Thank you. Director Martin, any questions?
No.
Director Mariano? Director Duff?
I might regret asking this question, so bear with me, Oriana.
Of course.
So in effect for 2026, they're going to have 4.
Which part of the year, January or July? Or
Well,
overall?
you're going to give them 2 to use between January and June 30th, right?
Correct, yes.
And then you're giving them 2 more to use between July 1st and the following June 30th
Oh, I
of
see what you're saying.
2027, right?
No, 4. On July 1st, we will give employees 36 hours.
36 hours.
Correct. That will bring us to the fiscal rotation.
Okay. So the 2 that are given on the 2 days that are given on January 1st, will they have to be used by June 30th?
That is what we're proposing, correct.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vice President?
I kind of want to continue that discussion. So that means that when you get those 4, they don't carry over. So if you don't use them within that year, then they do not carry over, correct?
Well, they carry over in the sense that we are going to replenish the accrual bank the next fiscal year to bring the employee up to 36 hours.
It's a cannot exceed
Okay.
amount.
Yeah, cannot exceed 36 hours because it would be illegal for us to.
So if they only use 2, then they only get 2 more on the next?
Correct.
Okay. And if they don't use any, then they don't get any for the next year.
They won't, correct.
Okay. And then if somebody leaves us, are they payable?
Yes, they are by law.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
And just to further clarify it, we already get 4 a year. It's just really kind of changing when they're issued. Well, staff
is-
gets 4 a year.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Oriana. Any further questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 13, annual report of capacity fees and related capital expenditures. General Manager.
Thank you, President Sewell. I'll ask our accounting manager to provide this report. Skylar?
Good afternoon, President Sewell and members of the board. So I'm here to present the annual report of capacity fees and related capital expenditures. Staff is recommending to review and accept the annual report of capacity fees and related expenditures as submitted. And then the purpose of this report is just to identify the capacity fees revenues that we received and make sure that we are actually spending it on the related capital projects to increase capacity. And if you'll see here, since 1989, the district has collected approximately 25 million of water capacity fees and expended approximately 44 million on qualifying projects. And for sewer, the district has collected approximately $20 million in sewer capacity fees and expended approximately $37 million on qualified projects. So this shows that we are appropriately spending all of our capacity fee revenues on capacity related capital projects. And I am available for any questions.
Thank you, Skylar. Director Duff?
Thank you, Mr. Aubrey. I've asked this question a couple years in a row, so bear with me, okay? When have these charges last been reviewed as far as whether or not we're charging enough?
So we're currently reviewing all of our rates with Raftellus right now, including those related to our developers as well. So
Okay, so currently it's being reviewed, and I think if I am remembering correctly, General Manager, correct me, 20 years since the last time they've been.
2008, I believe, is when the ordinance was passed.
Okay, because the way I see this, and I know that there are other things that go into it, but the black and white of how I see this is that we're, $18 million in the hole, and from what we collect versus what we expend. So our ratepayers, in my opinion, seem to be having to cover cost of developing, which I have a big issue with, not only as a ratepayer, but in the seat I sit. So I do want to emphasize that the Raftellus work that's being done, I really, really want to see specifically this on both sewer and water come back with a more reasonable update. I don't want us having to spend double the amount of what we collect to complete something. They should be paying 100% of what it costs us to provide what they're paying for. So I just want to make sure that we have a very close look at this with Raftellus and our whatever other consultants, and that we as a board see the details of what they look up. Okay?
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Vice President?
I can't follow that act.
Director Martin?
I can't either.
No, I agree with what Director Duff says.
And I will third that. Thank you, Director Dove.
Thank you.
And thank you, Skylar.
One thing can I add? One of the things that we do as part of this process is we do send this to BIA and DVBA. And we did receive a comment letter from DVBA. And the one thing that I believe is in your packet, but not on here, is the actual capital improvement list. And in capital improvement list, there's a lot of different things there. One of the things that's in there is well 28 and well 30 rehab. When you think of a rehabilitation, that's a rehab of an existing structure and it's not building capacity in the system. And when we had the conversation with DVBA, we explained to them that the reason it's included on that, because it is truly a capital project, why it's incorporated as part of the AB 1600 process, which this is what this is about, is our capacity fees, is because it is going to more than likely, why it's a rehab now. It is right now being negotiated to be part of a agreement commitment with one of our developers. So it would actually then be part of growing capacity, because we're going to reprioritize that, if you will, from normal operation to adding capacity. However, that would not actually come out of their payment because they're already conditioned to do that. So that's why this makes it a little bit difficult, because even when we're talking about some of the development we've talked about in the past, a lot of infrastructure went in 2008 that were fee credits that we were conditioned because we didn't add to that, and we didn't have the available capacity in our capital fees, if you will, and the collection fees to pay for those. So the developers went out and did that themselves and then donated to us. That is an asset of ours, but it doesn't fall into collected fees. So that sort of bridges the gap, if you will, and we'll talk about that when we bring it to you with Raftellus, because we're even going through that process right now. Is it you buy in and you get it, or is it do you look at the available capacity in the system and you buy into the capacity system? And they will articulate that better than I can. Skylar will probably go through it if you'd like him to, but
We can do it at another time. My basic issue is that our construction costs just from last year to this year have gone up 27% or more. And so, and that's what we have to pay. And yet, like our fees that we owe for city development and for deposits on developing in the own city we serve have increased, and we have not. We're behind the 8 ball in that. And we need to be collecting what should be collected, what it actually costs, irregardless of what they give us as a gift afterwards. In my opinion.
You're absolutely correct. And that's this AB is that way. So we're not paying too much. And we will articulate it better when Ref Tillis is here, and we'll be doing it as a workshop. I believe they'd be ready to do capacity fees as early as January, but I think we're going to bring it to February because we want to do both the capacity fees and also all the user fees that we bring at one time as a package. If the board would like to see those separated as one and one, we can do it that way as well. But we were preparing to bring this to you in February.
And I think a workshop's perfect.
Yeah, a workshop to start. Absolutely.
Thank you, Skylar.
Thank you.
Don't go
Item
too far.
14, accept audited financial statements for year ended June 30th, 2024.
Yes. Okay. Skylar Aubrey, accounting manager. So our auditors will be presenting the audit and financial statements on the 15th, but I will take this opportunity to talk about our fiscal year 25 audits. It does begin on January 12th, and I am looking to have fiscal year 25 financial statements done here in about March, and then that will finally get us caught up in the future. So
That's good news. Thank you.
yes.
Any questions today on the audit? All right, Monday it is. Thank you, Skylar.
Thank you.
Item 15, election of MSWD board officers for 2026. We'll be doing on Monday, but anything from staff or anything to discuss today?
Nothing from a staff perspective.
I have something.
Sure.
As you know, for the last 3 years, I really haven't been put on anything, and I'm not blaming President Stool for that. That's been other problems there. When we were in San Diego, I made the comment that this would be my last year here. The reply was, "Why are you telling me that?" So it's obvious that I'm not welcome. Please don't put me on anything, whoever becomes the president. Don't put me on any meetings other than my assigned meetings that I'm required to go to by law. I'm all through here with this. So I'll be here for the rest of my term. And then if I decide, after that comment was made, if I decide to resign, you can hear about it through the news media. Is that all right with you, General Manager Macy? I see you shaking your head yes.
I don't think I have a say in the decision from your perspective.
And I do not appreciate anybody telling me what I should say or shouldn't say here at the dais. And I will remain doing my job. I'll remain trying to get along with the board members. But that's the direction we're going. I may not be able to make it Monday. So I just wanted to get that out in the open. That's where we're heading. And I tried to do this in a closed session or something, but it wasn't one of those legal things we could do in a closed session. So that's why I'm saying it in public. So thank you for your understanding.
Thank you. Anything further on item 15? No. We'll move on to our discussion items. That's item 16, administrative building update.
Thank you, President Sewell. Just very briefly, we had a meeting earlier today, me and Director Meyerhoffen talking about the administrative building. I just want to let the board know that the city is still reviewing our plans. We have yet to receive any formalized comments from them, so we're still going through that process. But as we left the meeting today with the architect, we are going to be bringing a lead certification item to our next workshop to go through the process and the rankings and things of that nature. So the entire board has an understanding of how the ranking system works and where we stand at right now. Thank you.
Great. Questions or comments? Item 17, groundwater protection program update.
Thank you, President Sewell. I'll ask Eric Weck, our engineering manager, to provide that update. Eric?
Yes, good afternoon, President Sewell and members of the board. For today, the groundwater protection update pertains to 3 items. The first item is the Nancy Wright Regional Wastewater Reclamation Facility. The contractor is scheduled to complete the replacement landscaping in January. MSWD is working with the contractor, which is JF Shea, to adjust the replacement plant pallet as needed based on the surrounding site conditions. Secondly is the Horton diversion structure. The contractor, Downing Construction, has completed all sewer and site improvements. They are scheduled to complete the remaining electrical work over the next 2 weeks. including wiring, loop checks, startup, testing, and commissioning. I just want to emphasize that as of now, the construction of the diversion structure and ultimately the construction and completion of the conveyance line project is scheduled to be complete in December, keeping with their schedule. And finally, Assessment District 15, Area M2. Currently, M2 is being bid now. The pre-bid meeting was held in mid-November, and the bid opening is scheduled for next Thursday, December 18th. Are there any questions?
Director Martin? Director Marathon? Director Duff? Vice President?
M2, refresh my memory.
The septic to sewer project.
Yeah,
we,
didn't we downsize that?
we bid that project and it came in significantly more.
So we
no,
start over.
No, we didn't start over, but we were going to be moving forward and going to the state and start going through the FBA process, the funding agreement. But because there was one of the contractors contested the low bidder's bid, going through that process, we decided that the least risk was to rebid the project.
Right.
So we're rebidding the project as its entirety. So we're giving all the sewer, all the water, and then that's the process that we're at right now. We did it just recently, do an addendum because we have to make sure that the prevailing wage rates are updated. So we've done that. That's what the date that Eric referenced. Once we get that bed number, and then with no, if there are no protests or anything like that, then we will be going to Sacramento and making sure that we try to get the extra funding that may be necessary to do the entire project.
Okay.
One of the options that we did talk about was reducing it
Right.
to make sure that we stayed within the existing funding that we have. But the other option and what we were really discussing with Sacramento was, is there additional funding? We got the sense from a staff perspective that there is additional funding. They just needed to make sure that we had a contractor so they could move forward with that FBA. And as we know, that FBA takes a long period of time. So when we go through the bidding process, selecting of the contractor, we're going to take all that into effect, or all that into account when we start talking to Sacramento about the the FBA agreement.
And what's the timeline for that? 60 days?
Eric, is it 90 days that those bids can be open?
Yes, sir. Once we receive the bids, they are valid for 90 days, and the district has to make action on it, whether award or reject the bids within 90 days.
So what we would more than likely do is select a contractor, start moving forward with them, start working through the financing perspective with the state, and we can start construction and go to a certain point. And then at that certain point, if we don't get funding from Sacramento, then we can then pare back the project and start deducting certain items. Not an ideal situation, but it's something that is in our toolbox to move the project forward.
Okay. I'm a fan of that, but
Believe me, none of us are a fan. And if the contractors are out there listening to this, it's probably they're like, what is he talking about? That's just one of the options. In reality, we would not have brought the entire project to you if we thought that Sacramento was a hard no, and that they said, no, there's no extra money in the fund that we're going after in the clean water side. So
book my flights.
Thank you, Vice President Griffith. We were very successful, or you were very successful in talking to staff and helping us expedite some of the reimbursements that we were requesting for before. And I would expect if we were to go up there again, I would obviously invite you and make sure that the staff heard from the board again, because as we've heard when we go to any of our lobbying efforts, whether it be representatives or it be staff, they really want to hear from board members because that seems to have more weight than staff. So the invitation is always out there.
Thank you.
So we're looking maybe March to award the bid, and then it's going to be a process.
That would be the latest. That would be the latest. Yes.
But once we have the diversion structure finalized, we can start increasing flows down to Nancy, right?
Correct. At the end of this month, once the diversion structure is completed, then we'll start splitting the flow. And then you'll probably start seeing RFPs for Horton rehab and doing some of the things that we have to do there, taking things offline, looking at paddles, looking at motors, and As I recall, and I may be incorrect, but I believe we have almost $1 million in upgrades at the Horton facility to start looking at some of those things. 'Cause some of those trains have not been taken offline in multiple years. So this is be a great opportunity to start looking at those and try again, be proactive to make sure that we're splitting, that we can run both plants to the max of their capacity if necessary.
Perfect. It's kind of sad looking at the general manager report and seeing the numbers so low for Nancy, right? I want to see those. Let's use.
We all do. We all do.
All right. Moving on to consent agenda consists of approval of minutes, item 18, item 19, register of demands, and item 20, 2026 Board of Directors meeting schedule. Did we want to discuss any of those items today? No? Okay. Directors reports. Did anyone want to go today?
Nope.
Monday. Item 22, speaking of general manager's report.
Thank you, President Sewell. First, a finance report. I'd ask Skylar to come up and present our finance report that is included in the general manager's report. Skylar?
Thank you, General Manager Macy. So I'm here to report our financial summary year to date from July 1st, 2025 through October 31st, 2025. And operating revenues were at 8.8 million as opposed to a 7.3 million budget. And the reason why we have such a favorable budget variance this year, and then also a favorable variance to last year, was 2.8 million in billed pre-treatment non-compliance fees, though those amounts have not been actually collected yet, though per governmental standards, we do have to call them revenue, and they may be negotiated down in the future. And then you'll see operating expenses have a favorable variance of 2.1 million to a total of 7.3 million. And that is due to lower contracted services, electricity utility costs, and legal fees. And then you will see non-operating revenues of 1.2 million approximately, which is below budget due to property tax timing. We don't start receiving our property tax payments for fiscal year 2026 until generally about October timeframe, yet we do estimate our budget across 12 months evenly. So that is to be expected that we are trending lower year to date. And our debt service ratio was 2.56, and our investment return was 1.37%. And that investment return is including both of our Wells Fargo sweep account as well as our Cal Trust investment accounts. And then you will see a total cash of 82.8 million, which we will be getting with Urban Futures as our financial advisor in the future to discuss our future financing options. Specifically also related to the admin building on if we will be keeping our Wells Fargo line of credit for $15 million or potentially looking to issue debt and pay back the line of credit. And then I am available for any questions.
All right, Director Duff.
I love seeing these again. I did have one question, and it's just kind of a random one. What's the debt service ratio goal that we have, or what's that maximum that we don't want to go above for our funding?
So we do have the debt covenants. I don't have it memorized at the top of my head. I will need to go review our debt agreements and get back to you. But I will say that the debt service ratio is not looked at from a monthly standpoint from debtors. So they will be looking at our audited financial statements, and the calculation they will be doing is operating income divided by total debt service, and that includes principal and interest. So that's kind of why our debt service ratio from a monthly standpoint will jump around a lot, because it's usually more meant to be an annual ratio. So it is a little bit awkward, but it does kind of show our ability to pay our debt, though it does not include cash, which I do think is important in your ability to pay debt. So,
and so from your estimate, we'll have those updated figures in the audited financials come March or so. Is that what you said?
So our fiscal year 24 financial statements will be presented by our auditors on Monday, and then fiscal year 25, the plan and goal is to have them done in March.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Mr. Aubrey. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Vice President?
Nope.
Director Martin?
Nope.
Director Meyerhoffen? Just ballpark. I don't know if you have it easy. You mentioned those pre-treatment fees are in the operating revenue.
Yes.
Do you know roughly what that number is?
Oh, yeah, the total is the 2.8 million, and that has been billed and none of it has been collected yet. So I imagine those will most likely be looking to negotiate down in the future. So,
Okay. But without those, we would be
oh,
under.
yes, we would be under, consistent with last year, though not as under as last year. Because we do receive not only our property taxes, but even our normal operating revenues like water fees and service fees as well. We do tend to receive more at the last quarter of the year. So we do spread evenly across 12 months, though we do receive a larger portion of our revenues in the last quarter.
Right.
So it is to be expected.
Right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And public affairs report.
Thank you, President Sewell. Thank you, President Sewell. I'll ask Marion Champion, our Assistant General Manager, to provide this update. Marion?
Thank you, General Manager Macy, and good afternoon, President Sewell, members of the board. Today, I have a short presentation that highlights some of the work of the Public Affairs Office in the past month. Of course, additional information is available in your packet. Between the Aqua Conference and the holidays, the past month has been very busy. We started off the month with the Aqua Region Water Tour, November 13th and 14th, as well as the DVBA Golf Tournament, which MSWD was a water sponsor for. We also were participants at the Desert Garden Day, and despite the day starting off a little rainy and chilly, the information shared at the CV Water Counts table warmed up the crowds. Oh, thank you, Danny. The CV Water Counts table warmed up the crowds and energized the community. MSWD was also a proud sponsor of this year's Desert Hot Springs Women's Club Holiday Gala, which was very festive. As an aside, MSWD was well represented during the event, and we received a very warm cheer from the crowd when our name was announced as a sponsor. Those types of responses really do speak volumes as to our impact we're making in the community. Next slide, please. And our work is not over yet. In a bit, I will highlight our efforts with the DHS Parade of Lights taking place this Saturday, and we also have several other important events planned before we start to wind down for the holidays, including, and this is our blood drive, the CV Can holiday event, which I expect us to be a water sponsor for, and additional events for January are starting to pour in. So please make sure you watch your calendar for Dory's emails for the special events. And speaking of the holidays, I would be remiss if I didn't give you an update on our employee giving efforts this season. First, I wanted to give a quick shout out to everyone who participated in our employee non-perishable food drive. MSWD employees showed up big time for our community this Thanksgiving. Together, our team donated nearly 2 full pallets of food to Food Now to help local families in need. A special shout out to our collection system operator, Fernando, who went the extra mile by hosting a food drive during his Inland Empire Strongman competition, and then bringing all the donations back to MSWD to support the Food Now drive. We're very proud of our team's heart, generosity, and commitment to giving back. And here's a letter that was sent to the district acknowledging our donation. Dear Mr. Macy, thank you for your amazing MSWD team for your generous donation of 2 pallets of assorted foods, dry goods, and canned goods. As we move into the holiday season, many of our neighbors face additional uncertainty. Your support ensures that we have access to nutritious food, and we are grateful to have you standing with us in meeting this need. With appreciation, Executive Director Dana Johnson. I'd also like to give a shout out to April Scott from our public affairs team, who worked with staff and helped coordinate the food drive effort. Not to be outdone, at yesterday's annual employee luncheon, our employees stepped up and provided toys and gifts to more than 80 local children. On the screen, you can see many of the employees who participated in our annual event. The county's first 5 who organized the Snowflake Toy Drive was very thankful of our donations, and we are looking forward to fulfilling even more wishes next year. I'd like to recognize Dory Petit, who organized this year's Snowflake Drive, expanding the MSWD contribution from 60 snowflakes to 80 snowflakes this year. Without her hard work and organization, this drive would not have been so successful. And the holiday spirit is continuing to grow at MSWD. Here are a few select photos from our holiday float coming to life. You'll note that I was very careful in these images not to give away the look and feel of our float. Despite being hampered with a smaller trailer this year, the parade committee and its helpers have come up with what promises to be a memorable float entry. Adhering to the city's street art theme, MSWD is bringing the party alive with Club Grinch. The Grinch has ditched the sleigh for a DJ booth, dropping hip-hop holiday beats that will make Whoville and DHS residents dance with joy. I'd like to shout out all the employees who have been and are continuing to contribute to make this a success. We have moved the meeting time. If you're planning to join us, we've moved the meeting time to 4:15 here in the parking lot on Saturday, and I hope to see as many of you as possible at the event. And last but certainly not least, next Wednesday from 7 a.m. till noon here in the boardroom, we will be collecting life-saving blood donations. And as a special enticement, Livestream is going to be giving out $40 Red Robin gift certificates to anyone who donates. So we really hope to see all of you there. Moving on to our youth programs, we did do a lot this month, one of which we participated with the Two Punch Palms Elementary class field trip to Mission Creek Preserve. As you may remember, we do sponsor the bus transportation for any of the local elementary schools that would like to take their kids up to Mission Creek and learn about where our water sources come from. MSWD also attended a special community meeting for supporters put on by the Desert Hot Springs High School Family Engagement Center. Principal Omar Tanako provided an overview of all the wonderful things he and the school administrators are doing to help turn around our high school and help our students be more successful. They thanked MSWD for all its ongoing support and provided us with a plaque there in the white, thanking us for all of our contributions to the local high school. Speaking of which, we will also have another Real Academy internship program starting January 5th. We're going to take advantage of the week-long, the winter break and have them here for a week, and then we'll have them there for shorter times after that. So look for more updates in January. Once we have those positions and those students placed, I'll be able to come with a better update. Two other ongoing campaigns that you may have seen on our social and also on some of our advertising this and last month includes the Save Your Pipes, the FOG campaign, also a Help to Other Bill Assistance campaign. Both campaigns were featured as Water Matter newsletters within the header and the header graphics. We've also done paid social media, and we've also featured these on our social media posts. They've also been featured in El Informador de Val, the Spanish newspaper here in town, and also on their socials as well. Next year, we've got a new campaign that's brewing, playing on the New Year's resolution theme. New Year, New You, Get Your Home Water Fit. This is our annual free water conservation kits that we send and provide to customers. But this year we had a little play on that and trying to get people to think about if you're going to make a New Year's resolution, why not make it to make your house water fit? So this campaign is going to be running. We'll start in January. We'll have our billboard will be updated. You'll see paid socials. You'll see unpaid socials. You'll see it both in Spanish and English in local newspapers, and you'll see posters displayed in the lobby. So hopefully everyone will come out and get one of those kits and become water fit. On the editorial side, if you've been following the news lately in El Informador, you'll see we had articles about the DHS State of the City Award that we received last month. Also, Director Martin's appointment on the Riverside Oversight Committee as their chair. You'll see something on our FOG program and also our Help to Others campaigns. On the Yukon Report, we had articles on the DHS State of the City Award, the Rivco Oversight Board appointments, and you'll probably see additional updates in the coming weeks as well. On the Water Matters newsletter in November, we had the Help to Others program, the MSWD award that we just talked about, the Black Friday deals, the value of tap water, our office hours during the holidays, and also our holiday blood drive. In December, we've got our New Year, New You that I just talked about. You're going to hear about our 2026 calendar being available in the winners, and then, of course, our January blood drive and rebates coming in the future. And speaking of calendars, you guys may have noticed when you came in today, You had copies, brand new copies, fresh from the printer of our 2026 community calendar. These calendars showcase local artwork from our students, and I think this year's really turned out really nice. There's additional copies in the back of the room if anyone would like to grab one. On Monday, we will have the top 3 winners from the calendar contest here to meet the board and to address the board. And we will be, as of Monday, we'll start delivering copies out throughout the community in places like the library and City Hall where residents can pick them up. Residents can also reach out to us and we will also mail them, or they're available in our lobby starting on Monday. And then last but certainly not least, I wanted to take a moment to highlight some of the work of our talented customer service and public affairs team who joined forces for an extra special holiday message this Thanksgiving. A thank you to April Scott for art directing and putting this video together, and a huge shout out to Ryan and Yo Watson for their acting skills, and a very large shout out to our very own Dory for memorizing her script and being a willing participant in this video. Last I checked, this video had more than 1,128 views on Facebook and almost 1,800 views on Instagram. So great job, team. We will be closed to answer including live. We are here in the event as well, 760-59-64. So good. Great job, team. Thank you. That concludes my report today.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? No. Thank you, Marion. Item 23, director comments and requests for future agenda items. Director Martin?
I have nothing on that.
Director
No.
Myhoff? Director Duff? We'll move on then. Counselor, item 24, do we have closed session today or Monday? Monday. Perfect. And with that, it looks like the meeting is adjourned. See you all Monday.